Hello and welcome to Discourse of Peacocks, where today we are going to be discussing Leeds regaining the top spot in the Championship by a not even last minute, last 10 seconds of the game winner over Sunderland, in which the Peacocks went behind in the first half to a very, poorly defended, but also well taken goal by Sunderland, and trailed up until the 78th minute, I believe. And then once we got the equaliser, there was just a sense of inevitability about Leeds and what we were creating. Overall we had 21 shots, I believe, but only 4 on target, whereas Sunderland had 6 shots and 6 shots on target. So they were more efficient with their accuracy than we were, but they did only have, I think, 7 touches of the ball in our box. So they didn't create a lot, whereas I believe we had 47 touches. Oh no, it was possibly even more than that. Anyway, regardless, it was something at least like 6 or 7 times the amount of touches in their box compared to ours. Leeds United left it very, very late, and it was a game that if you have any sort of health problems relating to your heart, or you struggle with anxiety, and it was not a game for you, for the for the soft and sensitive people, because it had everything. It was a very entertaining game because it was just it's the moments that you live for in football, and we'll get on to the fun police later on. But today we've got the good, the bad, and the promised land. So let's get straight into the good. As you can imagine, there's a fair bit of good. We controlled the game fairly well. We created enough without creating too many clear-cut opportunities. I think we had 10 corners altogether, although we only did something with the final corner of the actual game. And we didn't concede a single corner, which goes to show how brilliant Meslier was, because he was able to smother their chances. In fact, he made 2 incredible stops within the first few minutes of the game. He saved it, palmed it down, tried to catch it, but I'm presuming the ball was just maybe wet or something, but it kind of slipped out of his hands into the path of, I believe, Joe Bellingham. And he did what he does best, his one-on-one goalkeeping, when he closes a player down, makes himself big and spread himself out, and it came off, I think it came off possibly his face, because he kind of looked a bit disheveled after that save. But yeah, he did fantastic. It's a great redemption story in terms of we may be able to start afresh for the rest of this season, at least with Meslier, and there is light and there is hope at the end of the dark tunnel that Meslier has taken us down over the last couple of seasons. And it was a really joyful moment watching him kind of cup his ears to the Sunderland fans who were baiting him the entire game. And I'm all for that. I love that. I love the hostility in games. I love the kind of the back and forth, and the Sunderland fans, I thought they were fantastic. Again, it takes 2 to make a game. It takes 2 to make an atmosphere. And I thought that the atmosphere was incredible, especially by the end, because you had the Sunderland fans at 30 minutes singing Leeds are falling apart again. And then you had the Leeds fans, after the final whistle went, singing, quite ironically back at the Sunderland fans, Leeds are falling apart again. These are the times that you remember. You remember that feeling, mainly of anxiety and stress. But once that final whistle goes, the absolute elation, the kind of, you can release and just relish the fact that we snatched a win in, away from the jaws of defeat and all of that cliched stuff. But this is how winning teams and league winning teams win. This is how they become champions, because of the fact that we haven't, I think we've only won one game where we've conceded first this season, which was the Swansea 3-4 game earlier on in the season. And until then, we dropped points every time. I think in every other game where we've conceded first, it doesn't happen that often, so we don't often have to come back. We are usually the ones that get the goals first. But the fact that we were up against somebody, a team that would have, I think it would have taken them within 4 points of us, possibly. If they'd have won it, I think, they were on 7 to start, would have taken them to 4, and the gap is now 10 points. So I'm not saying Sunderland are out of automatic kind of contention, but I think they're out of title contention, and they were the outside favourites anyway. But I believe our depth helped us. Obviously I've not spoken about them yet, really. But we had some super subs in the game against Sunderland. That second half, it felt very, very. Sunderland, I thought, were very composed, and they had a clear game plan in that first half. I thought the attacking intent was really there, and something that we've not seen that much at Elland Road this season. We're so used to having to just break down, and we did in the second half have to kind of break down that low block. But I actually thought they came out attempting to play football, which again is quite nice. And I thought we managed that fairly well. The momentum graph shows that they had very, very, few chances throughout the entire game, but they took their opportunities, and Meslier made a couple of great saves. But in the second half, it was all Leeds, and Sunderland just sat deeper and deeper and deeper. And because of the amount of set pieces, corners, free kicks that we were getting, because obviously tired legs, they were conceding a lot of free kicks. Farke's substitutes, we've all been critical of the timing, we've all been critical of he's had his critics of does he have any tactical nous when it comes to changing games when there needs to be, obviously the definition of his sanity is doing the same thing and expecting, something to change. And this time he made a 100% tactical change. It wasn't a like for like substitute, because it meant that we got Pascal Struijk on the pitch for set pieces. We got Rothwell on for who do we get? Rothwell, Gruev, and obviously Tanaka came off. He was on a yellow card, but it meant that we got the beautiful precision of Rothwell and the equalising goal. Absolutely phenomenal free kick. There's a potential that even if Struijk doesn't get a header to that, the ball just glides in the top corner of the net. Anyway, it was beautiful. It really was. His delivery of dead ball situations is the best that we have at the club. And Struijk is our most dangerous player when it comes to attacking set pieces. We all take the mick out of him and his 50p head, but my God, those corners were smooth. They were smooth against Sunderland. And he really, when Struijk scored the equaliser, he geared up the Elland Road crowd. He got everybody focused. He got everybody kind of the never say die attitude really came kind of shining out of him, and it meant that nobody lost hope. Everybody regained that focus, that goal. Obviously it takes it back to a level playing field, and it means it's like, right lads, we've got a job to do. And I loved his energy where he just G'd up, because Pascal Struijk is really quite calm and quite kind of horizontal when it comes to showing that much aggression and the super amount of passion. So when he does show it, it means something. It is it it kind of it embodies him, and it's infectious, and you can't help but absolutely get on board with every emotion that he's feeling. You can sense it even as a sofa fan. I can feel it through the screen coming, through him, and that attitude of, "Can we do this? We're gonna do this, aren't we?" You could just sense it. It was like you could feel it, like, tingling the whole way through your body from the fingers to your toes, and, yeah, it was something that even now, a couple of days later, I'm still getting kind of goosebumps and chills, thinking about that. It's that moment, it's how it makes you feel. It's something that unless you understand the power of football, it is hard to explain, and Struijk gave us that. Then obviously with the winning goal, um, 4 out of 5 subs were technically involved in that winning goal through one way or another. You had Bogle taking um, Bogle taking the corner, which hits Byram first, who was a substitute. Then it goes back to Ramazani, who shot/crossed the ball, who then got it back to Rothwell, who then crossed the ball in, Slash went for the shot himself, and Struijk headed it in. So that's 4 out of 5 players involved in that winning goal. We've now got 14 goals by substitutes this season so far, and there's still 13 games left to go. I believe it's the most goals by substitutes in any Leeds United season. We just keep getting better and better. And speaking of things that keep on getting better, Jayden Bogle, he is fantastic, and he he his tenacity and his drive up the pitch and his yellow card was 100% a valuable yellow card to take. And with the game in the balance as it was, we needed him to take that yellow card. I believe if he gets one more yellow card, he's suspended for 2 games. So we have to, I think it's the Millwall game that resets. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, Bogle, brilliant. Solomon and Dan James were fairly quiet, but not because they were quiet, but because Sunderland did a very good job of kind of marking them out of the game. I thought they handled them very well, sometimes too well, and we will get onto that in the bad section. It was amazing to see Farke's mask slip, and he just became a football fan at the very end of that match. The clips of different angles and the stills of him just laying there flat on the floor, just exhausted, because this is what Leeds United do to you. You are utterly emotionally drained, but yet it's like some sort of strange drug, because of the fact that you just can't help but go back for more, and it's addictive, and all we want is more, and all Farke has been wanting all season is more from these players, and these players are playing for one another. They are playing for the crowd. They are playing for Farke. It's this sense of togetherness is something that we only saw in brief flashes last season. Whereas, the huddle at the end, the kind of the way that Farke gently, obviously politely, as he always does, pushed the camera out of the way so that um, they could just all enjoy the atmosphere around them while being in a team. The fact that Nonto went on, there was no sulking, there was no egos. They were just all, Ampadu was incredibly apologetic about his mistake in the first goal. Obviously he got turned by his man, which we'll get onto. But I just love it. It really is. These are the moments, these are the feelings, these are the players that you fall in love with, the team that you fall in love with. And I don't think we've had that in quite a few years. So it makes this so much more enjoyable than it was last season because the unity between the group just feels like something that is potentially unbreakable this season. Right, let's get on to the bad. There wasn't that much, there's not that much bad in comparison. Set pieces by Gruev were poor. I thought overall, I didn't think he himself, you take the dead ball situations out of the equation. I actually didn't think he played poorly. I just think that Rothwell's set pieces are superior, and that's it. I thought defensively, I thought actually he did try and move us forward. He does quite a lot of the dirty work, which again Ampadu does when he's in midfield. That often goes unnoticed, and maybe would get noticed if he was wearing the captain's armband a little, But there's no denying his set pieces were poor, and we should have, with the amount of set pieces that were being gifted to us, we should have done something before the 78th minute when he was off the pitch. I thought the ref was absolutely terrible. Stuart Atwell, the fact that the EFL don't check these things until 5 hours before the game, and they think, oh yeah, maybe it isn't a good idea to have a direct rival of both of these teams managing a game that's this vital, that could throw all the dominoes into the air if an upset, i.e., a Sunderland win, was to happen. So, I understand the fact that it was the referee was changed and changed to Stuart Atwell, but it should have been done ages before. It was really obvious. Like the top four have been the top four for months. So, yeah, just EFL as a whole. We should have had one, if not two penalties, before we scored the equalising goal. The rugby tackle on Tanaka. I don't know whether it was '09 or whether it was Hume. I can't remember who it was who rugby tackled Tanaka. No eyes on the ball, just stopping Tanaka from being able to get the ball that was being crossed over the top at that point. How that wasn't given when it was right in front of the linesman with no other players obscuring his vision is absolutely outrageous. I think it's '09, should have been sent off. He should have had I counted at least 4 yellow card decisions that he should have had against him. Absolutely farcical, sitting on Mellier's neck, and smiling about it. It's the smugness that just irritated me, and I was just like, "You're not even playing football, you're just being a dick." Like, yeah, absolutely, and I wouldn't even like him if he was doing that for us. Some people, like you hate watching them against you, but you would secretly love them playing for you. He's not even one of those players. I just think that he's a scumbag. Like, I really don't like him. And the fact that it took until, was it like the 80th minute or something, 85th minute, potentially even later actually, when he blocked Mateo Joseph off, which had Mateo Joseph been any further into their half, it would have been a straight red card because he was last man. There's an argument to say that it should have been a red card because he was last man at that point anyway, but we'll give the benefit of the doubt. Also, like pulling James back after he'd already been fouled by, oh God, I keep on forgetting his name. Circus, I can't remember. A Sunderland player. Hume fouling Solomon. I really hope we get good news about that because at the time I genuinely thought he might have been going off then and there because it was a nasty tackle. Yeah, it was nasty. Obviously, as a follow-on from that, Sunderland probably should have been down to at least 10, if not 9 players by the end of it. And I've seen some Sunderland fans online saying, typical Leeds getting a goal right at the end. It's like, well, tell you what, if your goalkeeper hadn't been wasting so much time, you wouldn't have had 5 minutes added on at the end. And therefore, we don't get the winning goal. And you go home back to the stadium with a point at least. Don't time waste. Doesn't come back to bite you on the ass. That's basically it for Ampadu. Obviously, positioning and just being spun for the goal was not good enough. Regardless of whether they put the ball in that net, that was a penalty for me. If he doesn't get his shot off and it doesn't go in the back of the net, that's a penalty because he didn't let him go the entire way around, got completely spun round. Instead of letting go of being able to get a leg in for the block, he just got completely spun around. So yeah, that was not good enough. And that highlights the fact that Ampadu, he can do a very good job usually at centre back. And I'm not going to backtrack and say that he can't, but he is a midfielder who can play centre back, not a centre back who can play midfield. So yeah, he needs to improve. But I did enjoy, well, not enjoy, but I did appreciate the fact that he admitted not only like to the group, but also on being interviewed afterwards when he was given Struijk man of the match, that he apologised and would continuously apologise for potentially costing his team points. So yeah, fair enough, Captain. Finally, the Promised Land. Obviously, the Fun Police were on out and about on patrol for yellow carding Farker for the celebration again. I've got a few different thoughts on this. I understand by the letter of the law, it's a yellow card. I get that. I do think that there are times where referees, fourth officials, whoever, use their discretion. And when you have literally 5 seconds of the game left and you've gone from losing to drawing to getting an absolute last kick of the game winner, your manager is allowed to go and meet it on the pitch when every other player was up the other end. So he was never going to disrupt play at all by being on the pitch. The fact that you give him a yellow card for that is just not in the spirit of the game. And it's also one of the things that frustrate me is the fact that it's not a rule that's upheld consistently, as there are so many times where rules aren't upheld consistently and cards aren't handed out consistently. It's not necessarily the rules, although just use a bit of common sense. It's the application of the rules that annoy me so much. You know, it's the same with the last minute goal against, who was it? The Nonto one that got ruled out the other day. Was it it was the Coventry one. It's the consistency of these things being upheld. A decision should be there and then. And just, it's a last minute. He's not affecting the game. How many managers do we see in the Premier League? Klopp, when he was there, Arteta's awful for it. De Zerbi was awful for it when he was at Brighton. All of these managers, Pep's bad for it. All of them do it. Every single one of them do it. And they interfere with the game. There was 5 seconds left of the game after the restart. In fact, I don't even think there was 5 seconds left of it. Come on. Just use a bit of common sense. This is what the game is about. It's about moments. Otherwise, if you just take it for what it is, it's 22 men kicking a bag of wind around. If you take the emotion and the spontaneity out of it, you're taking the whole heart out of football. So just use a bit of common sense. Is this the kind of thing that we've got to look forward to if we go up next season? Just a lack of enjoyment because of the fact that everything's so sterilized. You have to do things by the rule, but only if you are X, Y, and Z team. If you are the top 6, you don't have the same rules. They don't get applied to you. But the rest of you, yes, absolutely, it's a touchline ban. No, come on. Another thing that obviously came up from the game is, are we going to do it? Not only get promoted, because I think Opta now has us at, is it 92% or something like that we're going to get promoted, and 77% that we're going to go up as champions. Absolutely insane stats. I don't want to get too big for our boots because there's still a lot of games to play. There's a hell of a lot of games in terms of how tight things still are between the 3 of us. And I would say the 3 of us because I don't think Sunderland realistically will be able to catch us. There's the potential that depending on what happens against Sheffield United, they could catch them. But are we going to win the whole damn thing? Are we going to do it? And are we actually going to be able to enjoy it without potentially being arrested because of COVID protocols? One thing that I will miss if we don't, if we do go up, is the fact that it's been really nice to watch games of football this season. Like, I often stress clean whilst I'm watching Leeds United, or I did in the Premier League, especially because of the fact that my anxiety levels just skyrocket, and I end up having to kind of keep myself busy and physically active and doing something in order to distract myself, because it's just too much sometimes. So I will miss being able to watch Leeds without doing stress cleaning, but my house will probably be grateful, because I'll probably get things cleaned a lot faster. Um, if we do get promoted, do you reckon we can do it properly this time? Do you reckon the investment's going to be there? Because I really think it is. And there's so many people, so many, bitter and, sucking on a lemon type fans from opposition teams that are saying, well, Leeds are just going to come straight back down again. And you know what? We might do. We might do. But there's also the potential with the Red Bull backing the 49ers being a very good, business enterprise, and having tactical, in terms of business side of things, understanding, Farker being given the tools, as well. Even if the worst was to happen and we got promoted, but then Farker wasn't doing very well, the players that he will probably want, he plays a style that a lot of managers play. So it's not like a Jesse Marsh and Bielsa where one plays, they could play completely opposite styles of football. A lot of teams are possession based, control, keep possession, recycle, create momentum, create, constant pressure, a lot of, styles, especially kind of like German styles and like Dutch styles, are very similar with that respect. So even if he was to get the players that he wanted and then he didn't do very well and we sack him, we would probably be left with a team that a manager would be able to work with, instead of having the complete opposite style players to what they would want. Again, I think the 49ers aren't dumb. Obviously, the romantic side of things is that Farker not only gets us promoted, but then, we push on and he gets us to a mid-table finish the first season up, and we can build from there. But the cold, harsh reality of things is the likelihood we will probably not end next season with the same manager. So they will think about that. They're not penny pinching like Rads was. They will have the money and they will want a return on their investment, which means that we have to stay in the Premier League. So they will do whatever they can to keep us there. Let me know. I think that's it for today. So let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know, have you recovered mentally, physically, emotionally from that game? If you were at the game, please let me know what it was like to be there, because I'd have given anything to go. I just couldn't get tickets for two of us. Yeah, I am very envious of every fan that was able to attend that game, because that is one that would go down in the history books of those feelings. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.